Welcome, everybody, to the Fanmouth Daily Fantasy Baseball Breakdown for Thursday, May the 22nd. I'm Joe Marsh, joined today by Dave Del Grande. How you doing, Dave?
Doing great, thanks.
All right. Got a decent slate of games. I believe there's 8. We're only going to be covering the 7 o'clock Eastern time and later games. So there's 8 games we're going to be going over. Not a ton of great options. A lot of the good pitchers are, pitching in the daytime, although this is a day, where a lot of teams' aces are going. I think, Zach Greinke's almost a must start tonight because of the lack of other elite options. He's got a good matchup. I mean, he's got 10.29 Ks per 9, which I like. He's got 7 wins in 9 starts this season, which is a very good win rate. And he's facing the Mets, who are hitting 217 against righties this season, which is last in the league, and hitting 211 at home. So I'm going to start Greinke. I think, unless, Dave, you really have another great option, a really good reason, I'd really have to hear it why you wouldn't start Greinke. From there, there's a couple other next tier options would be picking between Lin and Harang. I would pick Lin out of those two. He's got 8.83 Ks per 9, a bit of a higher K rate than Harang. And he's facing Arizona, who's an average offense, but they really haven't hit much in this series at all. The other choice to pair with Greinke would be to go with a lower-end option. If you were going to do that, there's Stoltz of San Diego. My personal choice would be Elias of Seattle. He's capable of posting nice strikeout totals, The Astros aren't a very good offense on the road. They're hitting 219. They're second in the league in strikeouts. So I think he'll be able to shut them down and post a nice strikeout total. Probably, I'm a bit of a gambler, so I'm probably going to go with Greinke and Elias. You want a safer pick, you can pair either Lin or Harang with Greinke, but the key guy here is Greinke. Dave, what do you think?
Well, I agree with that. I agree with everything you said except for your choices of the low-priced options. I do think there's a lot of low-priced options, not necessarily the guys that you threw out there. But let's start with Greinke. He is a standout play tonight. Like you mentioned, the Mets are not a strong hitting team, and Greinke is one of these. He's not the Dodgers' ace, but he could be an ace. He's by far the best pitcher going tonight, I think. Chris Sale's pitching tonight for the White Sox in a decent matchup with the Yankees, who haven't been hitting lefties very well. But it's his first game back from an injury. I'm a little concerned that we're going to see him pitching maybe only 5 innings or 6 at the most. And I do respect the Yankees, and his price remains high. So I'm not gonna go with him. Among the cheaper options, I like Wade Miley. I mean, he's been great on the road so far. The Cardinals are terrible against left-handed pitching, and Miley's one of these strikeout guys who you get at a very low price. Now, just on the surface, Arizona at St. Louis, you would think, wow, why would you pick the Arizona pitcher? They're probably going to lose a game at St. Louis. But I do think they have the better of the pitching matchup here. And like I said, Miley's pitched very well on the road. Another guy who I like is Volquez tonight, pitching for Pittsburgh against Washington. Pittsburgh's at home in this game. Washington's pitching Trinan, who's not a good pitcher, arguably their weakest pitcher. This is a game Pittsburgh's going to win. Now Volquez, this is one of those. I gave you some pitchers yesterday who both got wins and yet both didn't score a whole lot of points. And I think this is what Volquez is going to give you tonight. He'll give you 6 innings, 3 or 4 runs allowed. He'll give you a win. You'll get your 10 or 12 points. And if that's good enough for you at a low price, then go with him. You want a little more upside, some more strikeouts, I would go with Miley.
Now, you've said before that you don't like taking the second-best pitcher in a matchup. So are you telling me you think that Wade Miley is a better pitcher than Lance Lynn in that matchup?
I don't know that I've said that. I think I wouldn't take 2 pitchers from the same game.
Okay.
I mean, if you look at the numbers, Miley has pitched better on the road than Lynn has pitched at home. Lynn is a 133 whip at home. Miley's a 103 whip on the road. Advantage Miley. Arizona hits 705 against righties. OPS. St. Louis 643 against lefties. Advantage Arizona. I think the advantage is with Arizona in every aspect of this game. This is a game, and Arizona's been playing better lately. This is a game in every way, shape, and form Arizona should win. So I would not agree that that Arizona's got the second best of the matchup tonight.
Okay, good stuff there from Dave. What are you thinking at catcher?
Well, I think there are not great options tonight. I don't think all the way around in terms of similar to the pitching situation. I don't really like the heavyweight hitters tonight. There are not a lot of them going. First off, and the ones who are going, I don't think have the better of the matchups. To me, there's 3 or 4 matchups where pitchers do not pitch well against a certain style of hitter. One of them, you mentioned Stoltz. He's got a 340 batting average against right-handed hitters, 7 home runs allowed against right-handers. So I'm going to be looking to get some Cubs in the lineup. Castillo is one of these guys. Wellington Castillo is a big, strong hitting right-handed hitter who has a chance to hit a homer tonight off of Stoltz at a very, very cheap price. So, I'll look at those numbers and give him a chance.
Okay, yeah, I like Castillo actually as my low-priced option. Although I disagree with you on the heavyweights, I think it's a good night for Yadier Molina. He's a guy who crushes the ball at home, hitting .414 at home, 16 hits in his last 9 games. He's been hot. And I don't share your optimism on Miley. I mean, I look at Miley as a guy with an ERA around 5, a lefty. I think it could be a good night for Molina as well. There's always a possibility of punting the position tonight, though. We'll see how the lineups shake out. Over at first base, who do you like there?
Well, I think there are several good options at first base, guys who fit very well with certain matchups. One of the things that happened last night, Cleveland was scheduled to pitch Tomlin tonight against Baltimore. They had to use him in relief, so they've shuffled their pitching roster. Last I heard, they were going to start Masterson tonight, who's been pretty terrible. They were also considering bringing up a minor leaguer to pitch in this game. Either way, it sounds like it's going to be a right-hander, and not a good one at that. So my choice at first base is going to be Chris Davis. He is one of these heavyweight guys who I, happen to like tonight. But I think there's a couple other good options, and one of them, a guy who I would consider at utility tonight, is Ike Davis, because I mentioned that, I'm at a loss here for thinking of what team he's playing for these days. He plays for Pittsburgh. Trianon's pitching tonight for Washington. He's a guy who has a .455 batting average against left-handed pitchers. Pittsburgh doesn't have a lot of left-handed hitters, but Davis is one of them. He's a big power hitting first baseman who, I think is going to has a chance to hit a home run in this game at a very low price. So he's someone I'm going to consider for my utility spot.
Yeah, good stuff there. I like Davis a lot tonight. Like you said, Masterson's not good against lefties. Davis has been obviously on fire. And then my other option would be Freddie Freeman. He's a guy you always have to love when there's a right-hander on the mound, hitting .314 with 5 homers against righties. And he's got the struggling righty in Garza, who hasn't been great this year, but has been really bad on the road. He's got a .686 road ERA. So I'm thinking, I haven't fully decided, but I'm pretty sure Freddie Freeman is going to be my home run choice today. Moving over to second base, basically 2 similar guys here that you can play. Both with great splits against lefties. You got Jose Altuve hitting .436 against lefties. And then you got Bonifacio, who's hitting .400 on the season against lefties. Stoltz, and both are facing pitchers who have struggled against righties. Stoltz has given up a .340 average to right-handers. Both have the ability to steal bases as well. So I like them both pretty much equally. I'll probably go with Bonifacio because that's the cheaper option. I think both have maybe a couple hits and a shot at a stolen base. What are you thinking?
I couldn't agree, more right along the lines with you. I think Altuve is the better hitter. He's a very hot hitter, and he's got a good matchup tonight, but his price is also very high, and you can make a great case, as you have, for Bonifacio, facing a guy who I think is even a little weaker, and Bonifacio is at a much lower price. So I'm going to go with the weaker player here with the better matchup and the better price. I think I'm going to agree with you there and go with Bonifacio.
Yeah, I saw in the rankings that we had the same choices. I don't think there's a lot of great. I think those are actually, those are good options, but there's not a lot else out there. I think pretty much I would recommend picking between those two guys. Dave agrees. There's not a whole lot else to do at
Well,
second base today.
I'm looking to play some pirate left-handed hitters. They don't have a whole lot of them. Neil Walker is one of them. He's a guy who I like only because of the matchup. I don't think Neil Walker is necessarily a great hitter, but when you're looking at an opposing pitcher with a 4.55 batting average against left-handed hitters, all of a sudden everybody looks like Robinson Cano. He's someone who I can see taking a flyer on tonight if circumstances weren't as good as they are. We've talked about Altuve and Bonifacio. I agree. You really have to reach if you're going to go away from them tonight.
Yeah. What about third base? What do you think?
Well, I think there's good. Pedro Alvarez is Pittsburgh's best left-handed hitter. And so, I mean, he's almost like a must start tonight. And I've mentioned 3 times already that I want to get lefties in there going tonight. But a guy who's got a great matchup tonight is Olt of the Cubs. He's he got a 1039 OPS against left-handed pitchers. Got 5 homers and 33 at bats this year against lefties. He's facing Stoltz tonight, who's given up 8 homers already this season. 7 of them to right-handed batters. I mean, it's just a dream come true matchup at a low price guy who hits homers against pitcher who gives up homers. And it's wow, he's to me a guy that I got to get in the lineup until I look and see, well, Pedro Alvarez is a much better hitter. He's got an even better matchup than this guy has. I think it's a very tough choice between these two guys. So again, I'll say, man, I got to consider one of these guys for my utility spot because I think there's 2 really good options here.
Yeah, Mike Olt, he's the ultimate boomer bust guy pretty much. He's got 20 hits on the season, and 9 of those are home runs. So, if you're starting him, you probably got a good feeling that he's going to hit a home run. Not a cash game play, but always in play in a tournament. For me, I like Connor Gillespie a lot. He's hitting 421 in May. He's red hot, hitting 365 against righties, 12 hits in his last 7 games. And he's facing Phelps of the Yankees, who hasn't been good on the road. He's got a 5.09 ERA. Also, very important, he hasn't pitched more than 5 1/3 inning in any start this season, which means you're going to get extended innings from the Yankees bullpen, which isn't a very good bullpen. Their ERA is over 4. They're in the bottom third of the league as far as bullpens go. So I think Gillespie's a very solid play as well that I would add there. Shortstop, couple good options. I like Hanley Ramirez a lot today. Always a guy I'm going to have him play against a lefty. He's got 3 homers and 35 at bats, facing Nice, who's been good this year but not great against right-handers, allowing a 274 batting average. Another guy I would consider is J.J. Hardy. You have to remember, you talked about Cleveland played that extra inning game. They used a ton of pitchers, used tonight's starting pitcher. So not only are they going to be depleted at starter, but their bullpen's going to be a bit overworked as well. So I think it's, if you have a few Orioles you want to get in your lineup, I think that's always a good option as well. What are you thinking of short?
Well, I see another Cubs right-handed hitter against Stoltz tonight, Starlin Castro. He's a good hitting shortstop. He's a mid-price guy. I like the matchup. I agree with your choice of Ramirez as well. I think that's a very nice spot for him as well. The Dodgers aren't a great hitting team against left-handed pitchers, but Ramirez is, an exception to that rule. So, and I've talked already about a lot of, I don't like a lot of heavyweight players tonight, so I think I'm going to have money to spend on some of these heavyweights like Ramirez. And so, maybe on most nights when I see a guy like Castro, I'd be thinking, I'll save some money, I'll go with Castro, maybe spend a little bit more on my outfield. But I don't really like the heavy options in the outfield either. So I think I'm going to be there with you tonight and probably switch over to Ramirez when all is said and done.
All right. Moving over to outfield, I actually like a few of the heavyweight options. I like Andrew McCutchen, hitting 362. He's a guy I love at home. Hits 362. All of his homers this season have come at home. And the guy that you mentioned, Trainin, he's allowed a 346 batting average this season. He's only made 1 start, pitched a couple times out of the bullpen, but I think that's a good spot to attack. Puig, I like, hitting 351 with 2 homers and 37 at-bats against lefties. And he's just been on fire. He's hitting 403 with 7 home runs in May. So I think Puig's another good option. And then there's Ryan Braun. He hits good against righties, 6 homers and 83 at bats. Also, they're on the road. All of his homers this season have come on the road, so that's another thing. Braun is in consideration for my home run choice as well. I have to make up my mind in the next few minutes, but yeah, I like Braun as well. And then for a cheap option, AJ Pollock hitting 333 against righties. 396 over his last 13 games. He's been hitting very well. And then you talked about Lynn hasn't been good at home. That's a spot where you might want to get one of the Diamondbacks in your lineup. What are you thinking?
Well, I do agree with some of your guys there. I especially like Puig. Like I said a minute ago, similar thinking with Ramirez is that the Dodgers don't score a lot of runs against lefties for whatever reason, but both of those guys are certainly capable home run hitters. Puig has been red hot. I think he's a very good play among the higher price guys. I think the best value play maybe anywhere tonight is Seth Smith of the Padres. Arrieta has been terrible in both his road starts this year. 238 WHIP in those games, 368 batting average against left-handed hitters for the season. Seth Smith over 1,000 OPS against right-handers, 5 home runs against right-handers already this year, and a very low-price outfielder, guy who had 3 hits last night. Just a hot hitter, bad pitcher, good matchup. I think he's a great play in the outfield, a great value play that I would play with Puig. I can see taking McCutchen as well. I think there are some lower-price guys that fit my matchups well. As you mentioned before, I think the White Sox match up well with a right-handed pitcher with their lefties. Eaton and Diaza are 2 low-price guys who I think you might consider in that matchup. And then the Cubs have a big right-handed hitter in their outfield, Junior Lake, and up against a left-handed pitcher tonight too. So I think that all 3 of those guys for very low-priced guys. Like I said, on a normal night where I'd be playing some heavyweight guys at different positions, maybe a couple heavyweight pitchers, man, I would love to take a shot with some of these low-priced outfielders. I'm just not sure I have to tonight, especially if I'm playing Seth Smith out there. Yeah, I like these low-priced guys, but tonight might be the night to go with Puig, to go with McCutchen, go with the more dependable, higher-priced guys. Even though like I said, I see some bargains out there as well.
Yeah, that'll lead right into the last word. For me, obviously, Zach Greinke is the must play of the night. I think every lineup should have Greinke in it, and then who you pair him with is what's really going to make the difference. There's no one that I love as far as a second pitcher, so I may go with Elias, who I don't love either, but he's a bit cheaper than some of the other guys. That way, like Dave was talking about, I'll probably have more money to spend offensively in the outfield. Save money at a few spots on the infield. I like Bonifacio. I like Gillespie a lot. I may have 2 high-priced first basemen, one at a utility. I may go with Davis and Freeman, and then try to get some big hitters out in the outfield. I think that's how I'll build my lineup tonight. How about you, Dave? Final word.
It makes a lot of sense. I think that if you agree with me that there are a lot of good bargains among the hitters tonight, and you have no hesitation then to spend money on pitchers, you might consider Sale. I mean, I think Sale. If I weren't worried about his coming off an injury, I think he would be a standout second pitcher. He's got an 0.93 WHIP in his 3 home starts. He's a quality pitcher. He's an elite level pitcher. When he's healthy. And I'm just not 100% sold that he is healthy. But I think I'm going to have money to spend. And like you said, among the lower priced options, if my top choice among those guys is an Arizona pitcher pitching at St. Louis against a pretty decent St. Louis guy, then that I haven't found anything that I'm really sure about. So I may end up going with Sale and spending a couple extra bucks there rather than forcing it onto a hitter. If I choose to save some money on my second pitcher, then I'll go with I've got 2 choices there. I got Miley and I like Volquez as well.
All right, good stuff there from Dave. That wraps it up for today. Looks like it's going to be a good night tonight. Join us again tomorrow. Dave and I will be back. In the meantime, you can check out our full rankings at blog.fanmouth.com or follow us on Twitter at PlayFanmouth. Thank you very much.